The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Desktop Central Training. I thank everyone for joining today's webinar session in your busy schedule. So before we start the training, I would like to check whether you all can hear my voice and view the presentation well. So it would be great if you all can confirm that by commenting on the chat. I will wait for your confirmation. Okay, thank you all for the confirmation. Let me introduce myself. My name is Abraham Jabaraj, and I have 5 years of IT industry experience, and I will be the presenter for today's webinar session. So today we'll be talking about remote control and tools. So let's have a quick look at the training schedule. As you all know, this is 5 weeks training series, and now we are in the 4th week of the training schedule. So all these training videos will be recorded and can be easily accessed from the below mentioned URL, desktopcentral.com training.html. In case if you missed the previous training modules, you can make use of that. Even the registered participants will be receiving the recorded training videos in email. So today's topic is remote control and tools. So before we start the training, let's have a quick look at the agenda of today's training. So first we'll start with an overview of remote control, and we'll see how it works in the background first. Followed by that, we'll be discussing on the uses of remote control and other tools with few real-time examples for better understanding. First, we'll see how help desk technician can use remote control for installing Adobe Acrobat and troubleshooting Wi-Fi issues. Also, second, I have taken most common issues in PC, which is system slowness. So let us see how we can use tools in Desktop Central to troubleshoot on this. Also, in an organization, enforcing IT policies is very much important. So let's see how Desktop Central can be used here. Finally, we'll also see how we can alert the end users in case of an emergency situations like your Microsoft Exchange server is down. Followed by that, we'll be discussing on few other interesting scenarios and solutions that we came across in our support experience. During this training, if you guys have any questions, feel free to type your questions in chat. So we have an expert panel available who will be able to answer your questions. Also, we'll be discussing on few common questions asked by end of this presentation. Okay, so let's move ahead. So before we move into the remote control, first let's see what is Desktop Central. So Desktop Central is an unified endpoint management solution which helps you in managing desktops, laptops, server, point of sale devices, and also mobile devices. So the traditional endpoint management solution has some difficulties in managing modern IT environments, which involves heterogeneous devices or with the devices that travels outside the organization's network. So this Desktop Central offers an umbrella approach as an unified endpoint management to manage all the endpoint devices within an organization and also from a central location. So this UEM edition of Desktop Central includes all Desktop Central features such as patch management, software deployment, remote control, tools, configurations, and all that. Along with that, we also provide OS deployment solution, also the modern management of Windows 10 features, and of course with the MDM feature as well. So if you want to know more about this UEM edition of Desktop Central, you can contact us on the chat or you can visit this link below. Okay, Next, the supported operating systems. So Desktop Central supports all three major operating systems: Windows, Macintosh, and Linux. So here are the versions of each. So let's have a quick look at the architecture of Desktop Central as well. So Desktop Central is an on-premises solution, and this is also a client-server based application. So agents should be installed on each and every machine. So here's the architecture diagram. So agents are shown here like blue in color. So agents should be installed on each and every machine to manage them. So agents can be installed in different ways. So from the console, you can push the agents, or you can use GPO to push the agents through Active Directory if you're managing the machine through AD. Also, you can install the agent through manual or script-based deployment. So once the agent is installed, the agents will start communicating to the server. All right. So you can manage the machines both in LAN as well as in WAN. Especially when the machines are in WAN, you can effectively manage them with the help of distribution server by grouping them as remote offices. So what is remote offices? For example, if you're managing more than 10 machines in a remote site, and if you have concerns with bandwidth, then you can use this distribution server. So when a patch or a software task is created for these machines that are located in this remote office, the clients will not directly reach out to the main server to download the patches. Instead, the distribution server will go to the main server, download the patches, and distribute them locally to the rest of the machines in the remote offices. So this feature helps you to manage the bandwidth efficiently. Even roaming users can also be managed through Desktop Central effectively. To manage this roaming users, you can expose your server to internet by placing them on DMZ, or you can use NAT functionality, network address translation, to manage them through internet. Um, and DMZ is most preferred solution, so you can place a server in DMZ. In case if you have constraints in placing the server in the DMZ directly, then you can go for the additional component called forwarding server, which is also called as secure gateway. So what is this forwarding server? So forwarding server acts as a secure gateway between the remote office agents and the Desktop Central server. So any communications from the roaming agent or from any remote offices will be routed only through this forwarding server. So this ensures that communication is secure. Okay, like I said before, Desktop Central can manage machines in LAN as well as in WAN. So with this architecture, Desktop Central is scalable to manage even large networks up to 20,000 machines. So this is possible because of this refresh policy we use. So we call it as 90 minutes refresh policy. For example, uh, for every single agent, we'll talk to the server for every 90 minutes. So that is called as 90 minutes refresh policy. So two important factors are ensured here. Network is not being choked by agent server communication, meaning bandwidth is not disturbed due to agent server communication. And also the performance of the server itself is not getting affected anytime. So Desktop Central server has an intelligence to slice down the number of machines that it has to communicate to the main server. For example, in a network of 90 computers, one computer will reach out to the Desktop Central server every minute. Similarly, for a 900 computers network, 10 computers will reach the server per minute. And for a larger networks like 9,000 machines, 10 computers will reach the Desktop Central server per minute. So using this feature, Desktop Central agents can communicate to the server without any issues or hesitation. Okay, right. So here are the ports used by Desktop Central. So we recommend you to open these ports to utilize the features available in Desktop Central. For example, voice and video chat is one of the feature in Desktop Central, which works in the UDP port, which is 8443. And even agent server communication happens on 8020. And agent server communication can happen securely on port 8383. So even server to agent notification happens on the TCP port, which is 8027. So to know more about the ports, you can refer the below URL desktopcentral.com ports. Okay, so here are the components involved in Desktop Central. So we have already discussed about server, agent, and the distribution server. So notification server is also another important component that plays an important role in on any on-demand tasks like scanning, remote control, and all that. We'll discuss about that later in detail. And failover server brings in an additional server which actively monitors the primary server and takes charge of the the actions when the primary server fails. So this feature helps you in eliminating the downtime in your business. Okay, right. So next, you can also place your desktop central server in AWS or Azure. So there are advantages placing your server in cloud. For example, if you are a managed service provider, then placing the server in a cloud will be an advantage for you. Even placing the server in the cloud will be a cost-effective solution, and you can manage more roaming users easily. Desktop Central will be available on cloud very soon, but we're happy to tell you that we have recently released a new ManageEngine application called Remote Access Plus, which is available in two flavors, in on-premise as well as in cloud. In case if you're focusing only on the remote control and tools related features, you can go and download this application and use that. In case if you have any queries on the topics that we discussed or any queries regarding this remote access plus, feel free to ask your questions in chat. Okay, so far we have discussed about the general things about Desktop Central. So now we'll move on to the main topics, which is remote control and tools. So first, let's see why enterprise need remote control and tools. Mainly to manage and resolve help desk tickets. So this will be helpful for the help desk technicians, and also to enforce IT policies in your environment. And also, if you wanted to communicate instantly with any user for any issues or for any need, you can easily use these kind of tools to do that. And also, you can troubleshoot any issues like slowness issue or anything on the client machines using these tools. So these are all the features, or these are all the uses for tools in an enterprise. So to understand this more in better, so I have taken 4 real-time examples to discuss in detail about this. So first real-time example is resolving help desk ticket. Okay, so in this, we'll see how a help desk technician can use remote control to help a user to resolve and resolve a ticket. So for better understanding, let us assume the end user called Bob sends a support ticket through the IT help desk tool, which is Service Desk Plus, which is our ManageEngine tool. And the ticket contains 2 requests. One is for installing Adobe Acrobat application, second for Wi-Fi communication issue. And this ticket got assigned to the technician named John in the Service Desk Plus portal. So John opens the ticket and reads this information. So now John has to help Bob in resolving these tickets. Let's see how John is going to use tools in Desktop Central to assist him. So let's assume myself as John. So I'm going to show that live here. I'm logging in as John, as Jonathan now. Okay, so I have logged in as Jonathan now, as John now. So now I need to help the end user Bob regarding his queries. Okay, so first I need to understand and identify the computer that Bob is using. So I will click on the tools section, and in the remote control section, I'll see all the computers listed here. So now I know the username Bob. So I can use the search option available here to search the username as Bob. Okay, here we go. So this is the computer that Bob is using. And as you see here, the status is green, which means the Bob is alive and the machine is connected to the network and it is communicating to the server. So now I am going to use a remote control and troubleshoot and assist Bob on his request. So I can click on connect to his machine. But before that, there are a few important features that I need to discuss first. So first is, in case if multiple users are logged into the missions, I can use this icon to view how many users are logged in, and all the users logged into this computer will be available here. So I can click on the respective user to take control of the missions. Okay, that is option one. And also, you can use this option, prompt the user for confirmation. Okay, this is a very important feature, which is uh, in regards to the HIPAA compliance, which talks about uh, asking the permission from the end user before you connect to his computer. So you can enable this option and you can click on connect now. So when you do this, a small pop-up window will be visible on the end user's computer, and the end user will be allowed to click on allow or deny to allow the technician to log into his computer. In case if you want to customize the message that you want to show on the end users, you can enable this option here and you can customize the message over here. So this is one important option that you might use in the remote control. For now, I'm disabling this. And also the next is the viewer type. So there are two viewers that we support, which is HTML5 and the ActiveX viewer. So as you all know, HTML5 viewer is an advanced and easier, user-friendly. So we suggest to go and use this HTML5 viewer instead of ActiveX. Okay, now I'm ready for troubleshoot now. So I'm clicking on Bob now. Okay, so here is another important option. So now it is asking me to enter the reason and the support ticket ID. Okay, this is very much helpful for me to trace the usage of the remote control on each mission. And also this work log, this information will be added as a work log in the ticket automatically, right? So let me show you how we can type the message. Okay, I already have the message typed. So I'll enter the reason as this. And this is the ticket number. So I'm entering the ticket number as 318 and I'm clicking on connect now. So within few minutes, the agent on the mission will connect me to the mission, and here we go. So this user Bob is using two screens. So I'm able to see two screens now. So in case if I wanted to change the layout, in the right hand side you have an option to change the layout. So you can change the vertical layout, horizontal layout. Even if you wanted to see both the screens at the same time, you can do it from here. Okay, so this is all about these are all the options available on the right hand side. And one more option available here is the notification. Okay, let me choose this view. Okay, this notification. So this will tell the user who is controlling the computer. So my name is Jonathan now, so it is populating my name over here, and I'm also recording this session. So this is showing the user that the session is being recorded. Okay, right. The next, on the right hand side of this tool, I have other features. First is the view. So using this, I can change it to the actual view, full screen view, or I can refresh the page. So these are all the main options. And of course, the next important option here is the Control Alt Delete. In case if you wanted to use a shortcut like Control Alt Delete or Alt Tab, you can straight away use this option instead of using the keyboard, right? Since you cannot access the keyboard directly, you can directly go for this option. And even blacken monitor you can use, and you can blacken the monitor while you work for the privacy concern. And you can disable the inputs like the mouse and keyboard of the end users as well. And you can also enable this view only mode if you wanted to just monitor what the user is doing instead of working on the computer. You can take remote control of the missions. You can take a screenshot of the screen directly from this tool. Also, you have other quick launch options here, which will help you to access the administrative tools easily without even using the start menu and all that. So for example, first you can change the user permission level. By default, it will be in a system user permission. In case if you want to change it as an administrator, you can change it as an administrator or as a local user. And so in this quick launch option, so you have some common um, tools that you can use, and you can easily access it from here. You can launch it from here. And of course, the power option is also available here. You can initiate log off, reboot, or reboot and save mode and all that. And even administrative task related details will also be available here. You can initiate task scheduler. You can also update group policy in case if you're applying some group policy as a part of your troubleshooting, you can easily update the group policy by running this command directly. So these are all the options available here. Okay, so coming back to the scenario that we were discussing. So Bob has raised me two issues, which is for installing Adobe Acrobat application, and the next is a Wi-Fi troubleshooting issues. So first, I wanted to install the application. Okay, so as an administrator, as a help desk technician, I know that I need to install the application, and this application is available in the network share. Okay, so I need to let the end user know that I'm going to access the network share and I'm going to copy the files to the user's computer. And before that, since I'm going to access a confidential network share where the all other applications are available, I wanted to hide that from the end user Bob. So I can use the chat option and I can intimate Bob saying that I'm going to hide your screen. I'm going to blacken your monitor for a minute. Okay, so I can use this option. Okay, sorry, here it is. So here I can ask permission from the Bob saying that I wanted to do blacken the monitor. So I can easily ask the permission from the user. So when the user says yes, I can go ahead and blacken the monitor before I access the network share. So I can go to the quick launch, settings option. I can use this option blacken monitor. So it will give me a prompt. So I can click on the confirmation as OK. And now I'll go ahead and access the share. Even to access the share, I don't have to use the run directly. I can use this quick launch option. I can go for the Explorer option. So this will launch the Windows Explorer. I can directly access the link. So I can access any network share and I can copy the files to the local machine. So now I can go ahead and install the application and I complete the installation. So I have successfully completed the application. So now that I need to apply the license as well. So to apply the license, I need the license file. So but this license file is available in my local PC right now, which from where I'm taking this remote control. So now I'm going to transfer that file to this Bob's computer. So how do I do that? So for that, you can use this file transfer option and you can select. So this is my mission. I'm selecting the desktop that I have this. So this is a file that I have, and this is a user's mission, and I will select this option, and I will transfer the file to the desktop. So once I transfer the file will be available here on the desktop, and I can apply this license file. So now, since I have blackened the monitor, I will go ahead and revoke the monitor to the end user. So now the end user should be able to see my screen. So see his screen. So first request is being resolved now. So the application is being successfully installed now. Okay, so the next request on this ticket is regarding the Wi-Fi connectivity issues. Okay, so now I wanted to troubleshoot on the Wi-Fi connectivity issue. So with my limited knowledge, I try to troubleshoot with device manager settings, network adapter settings, and all that. But I'm unable to fix the actual Wi-Fi adapter level issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to request one of my senior technicians to assist me on this session. So his name is Peter. Actually, I'm looking for a help from him. So he agreed to join the existing session to assist me on this. So let me show you how two technicians can share the same screen and work on resolving a ticket now. So now I have logged in as a Jonathan. So now I'm switching back to a different browser to log in as a Peter now. So I'm using Firefox. I'm logging in as Peter now. So I've logged in as Peter now. And now I wanted to assist by joining in the same session. So I'll click on remote control. So similarly, Peter is going to search for the computer. And now this time, Peter is going to see only the option as view desktop since the session is already running. So he can click on view desktop to share the existing session with the previous technician. So he will also see this. Okay, so right after he connects to the session, he will see the notifications here saying that view only mode is enabled. So enable active mode under actions. So which means only one technician at a time can be actively working on the computer. So the second technician, Peter, will be only in view only mode as of now. He cannot click or do any troubleshootings here. So first, he need to get the control. So he can go to the section and click on active mode to gain the control. So he gets the control now. So now he will go ahead and use the same kind of options that I used, and he reset the network adapter settings and he fixed the issue somehow. Okay, so now Peter has troubleshooted this issue, fixed the issue, and he logs out of the session now. So Peter has also informed me that Jonathan has to reboot his computer to apply the required changes on the network adapter settings. So now Jonathan will be the only person available here. So I need to intimate the customer to reboot the mission. So we have an option to reboot the mission like we discussed before. So you can also reboot the mission, shut down the mission from here. So before I do that, I can seek permission from the end user again. So I'm going to request Bob so that we have fixed the issue that he has reported and shall we reboot the mission. So I'm going to request Bob here. And now the Bob is going to give me the permission to reboot the mission. Okay. So now I'm going to reboot the mission. So for reboot, again, I will use this option to reboot. So this is the first scenario where we discussed about how an help desk technician use the remote control tool in Desktop Central to troubleshoot on the issues reported. Okay, so far we have seen how Desktop Central is going to work here. Okay, and one more important point in this tool is, so we also have another ManageEngine tool called Service Desk Plus, so which is a ticketing tool and which helps you in managing the tickets and all that. So Desktop Central offers an option called integration with Service Desk Plus tool. So if you integrate Desktop Central with Service Desk, right? So whenever you initiate a remote control, the work logs for the remote session can be directly added into the ticket. So the ticket 381 is available in the service desk now. So here is the ticket number. Request ID is 381. So I have referred the same ticket number. So once the remote session has ended, it will ask me to enter the work log and change the ticket status. So I can enter the details, the reason. I can add the work log details here directly. Okay. I can also add the resolution note. If needed, I can add the notes and I will save this. And I will change the settings over here. So once this is done, that same kind of details will be updated over here in the resolution as well as in the task status. In case if it is already integrated, you will also see the start time and end time of the remote session. So even you can initiate a remote control directly from the Service Desk Plus tool. So this is the first scenario. And so far we have discussed about how Desktop Central remote control works practically. And we'll see how it works in the background now. Okay, so here's the architecture diagram of remote control. So Technician 1 logs into his Desktop Central server using his account and searches for the Bob's computer and clicks connect. And this request is being sent to the Desktop Central server. And this Desktop Central server has two components involved in it, gateway component and the notification server component. So this notification server component listens the request sent by the technician, and then this will forward the request to the target mission. where the desktop central agent is installed there. So the desktop central agent will start the remote control services on the client machine, on the target machine, and this remote control services will capture the images and send them to the desktop central server. So this gateway component in desktop central server will forward this images to the technician 1. Similarly, when technician 2 is connecting to his computer, this time the gateway component will automatically detect that there is an existing session already running. So it will only show the option as view desktop. So when he clicks on view desktop, the same images which are being transferred to the technician 1 will also be transferred to technician 2. So this is how the remote control works in the background actually. Okay, right. So trust this was informative. So in case if you have any queries regarding this real-time scenario, feel free to ask the questions in chat. Okay, so the next topic is about how secure is this remote control tool. Okay, so remote control, we are using accessing a lot of sensitive data of the end user. So you need to understand how secure this remote control tool in Desktop Central is. So this remote control tool in Desktop Central is compliant with HIPAA and PCI. So this is because of the below reasons. For example, like we discussed before, we will be asking a confirmation from the user before every session before we connect it to his machine. And also, we'll be monitoring the activities that are being performed there, and we will easily trace what actions are being done, the start time, end time, who's actually doing this, and all that. So all this will be traced in the logs. And also, we have provided an option to blacken the remote screen. So this prevents the technician to view any personal information that the user is currently accessing. And even granular security controls are also available here. For example, if I go to the console, I can show you the options that we discussed. So we have discussed about the user confirmation here, so which is where we will seek permission from that. And if you wanted to enable the screen recording, you can enable or disable screen recording. And also you can trace the activities easily from here. You can download the recorded videos. You can see who has accessed videos and all that. So these are all the options available here. And even the settings, you do have other customizations that you can make. So you can choose the viewer type. You can notify the end users before, during the remote session. You can disable wallpaper and all that. So these are all the granular level controls that we provide on the remote session. Okay, so that's it about the remote control feature. So let's move on to the next module, which is troubleshooting system slowness. So this is one common issue that you might all come across in an enterprise environment. Let's see what are all the options available in Desktop Central to troubleshoot on the system slowness. So for better understanding, let us assume myself as a technician again, and one of my manager called Bob again is raising a ticket in which he is reporting the system slowness issue. So now, as a technician, I need to troubleshoot on the system slowness issue. So let me show you what are all the options available in Desktop Central for that. So in Tools section, first we'll discuss about the System Manager. Okay, so normally when it comes to slowness issue, we will check the performance, we will check the processes running, we'll check the event logs, and we will see the services, unwanted services, and we'll disabling it. In order to do this, you can use remote control to troubleshoot or do the changes, but that will also disturb the end user by this time you're doing this troubleshooting. Instead of going for the remote control, you can use the System Manager tool to troubleshoot without even disturbing the end user. Let me show you how. So in the System Manager tool, it will again show you all the list of computers available here. Let's assume that this is the computer that my manager is using. So I'm going to click on Manage right next to his machine. This will populate the rest of the options. So first, I wanted to check the process running on the machine. So I'll click on Process. It will show me these options in the next tab, and it will populate this. So it will quickly run a real-time scan and it will populate the processes running on the real-time. So here we go. So these are all the processes running. So here I can just quickly search for any processes, or I can see what process are being occupied and all that. So I can kill any processes from here as well. Also, I found I couldn't find any reasonable process here to which will affect the system slowness. And also I wanted to check if there is any services, unwanted services running on the system startup. So I will go ahead to the services tab and I will check all the services running here. So from this you can do all necessary actions. For example, if you wanted to stop or restart or disable the service, you can easily do it from here. So that's all the advantages that we have. Apart from that, if you wanted to run some commands quickly, you can run the commands over here. And we also have options like run as user option to switch to the specific user or to the system user by default and run the command. And the registry settings, in case if you wanted to do some changes in the registry, you can easily do the changes in the registry as well. So file manager, in case if you wanted to access the files, you can easily access the files and do it. And one more thing is that this file manager and the command prompt has high level access to your files in the missions as well. So this will also be considered as a security concerns in some organizations. So we do have an option to customize the security settings in this settings as well. So let me go to the admin tab to show you what are all the options available to customize it. So here in this system manager settings. So in this, you have an who has to access the file manager and command prompt from the console. In case if I have multiple users, so like we discussed before, so Jonathan is a one user, and we also have other option to create multiple user accounts with limited privileges or as an administrators and all that. You can do it from here directly. So in the admin tab, you can go to user administrator and you can just add users from here. So to add the users, you need additional licenses. So if you have, you can add the licenses. You can set the roles for them as well. Okay. So these are all the options. And in case if I don't want all help desk technicians to view this options of file manager, file manager and command prompt, I can restrict that option using the system manager settings. Right. Even if I want to disable it for all users, including the administrator, I can permanently disable it. In case if you do it, you need to contact the support again to re-enable that. So these are all the security related features available in terms of system manager. And of course, the next things are the event viewer, where you can check the event logs. So you can filter based on the type and you can search for it. And you can also search for the device driver details. If there is any need to search for it, you can check for it. You can disable the drivers and all that. You can see what are all the shares created on that mission, printers mapped into that mission, and the groups available on missions. Applications to the group. You can create a new group, you can add a user or remove a user from a group, and all that can be done. And even uninstallation of a software can also be done from this option. And users, right? You can see all the users available on that mission. You can see the status of each users, and also you can see the SID, system identifier. So now, as a first step, I have checked all the processes running, services running, and I couldn't find any considerable changes and all that. So now I wanted to do the next step by cleaning the unwanted files, like temporary files, unwanted caches, and all that. So how do I do that? So for that, again, we do have an option in Desktop Central, which is called as System Tools. So in this System Tools, you can add a task to do the following activities: check disk, disk cleanup, and disk defragmenter. So now you can go to the disk check option and you can select what disk that you wanted to do, and you can select the mode that you wanted to perform and all that. And the next, you can select what kind of files that you wanted to clean. So you can also set the conditions here, clean up the disk space automatically, delete the files in the recycle bin, and also delete the download folder, delete the files in the download folder, and also other files, temporary files, cache, browser cache, log files, right? And backup and restore files general. So all this can be customized. And the next, I'll go for the defragmenter setting. So I can also set multiple drives to do defragmenter at this particular schedule. So I can select the operation type and the priority based on my need. You can click on this help card to know what is the details, what is the definition for each of this type. And once this operations are defined, I can go for the next section where I will define the target. So now I will select the remote office or the domain in the first level. So now I select the remote office as New York or the local office. And I will select the mission, the computer name here. Okay, I'll select it and I'll click on next. Even if I wanted to select it to multiple missions, I can select it through the group or IP address or based on the IP ranges. So once this is done, I'll go for the next section where I will set the scheduler settings. Okay, so in this first, I will set the privilege. I can select any administrator account to run this task with this specific privilege. I can enable these options. I can also set the conditions, run only when the user is logged in and all that, and also the trigger. So here you can set the actual schedule. So you want this to be performed as a weekly task or a monthly task. You can set that condition. Even in the advanced setting, you can set the delay options, a repeat option, right? You can set the expiry of this task, expiry date can be set over here. And once this is done, you can go for the next option to finish. So and complete this. Okay, so I'm not selecting that option now. So I can set the conditions like this. Okay, and I can click on finish. So this task will automatically run on the schedule as per the schedule, and it will remove the unwanted files on the machine. Okay, so now I have scheduled this task for today evening, which is an off business hour. So now this task will run today evening when the user is out of office, and the information will be uh, updated to the console here. And when the user logs into his computer tomorrow, he can see the difference in the performance. So what I'm going to tell the end user Bob is that I'm going to inform him that I have scheduled a task. So I want him to update the status of the performance of his mission tomorrow after this task. So I'm going to intimate this to the user now. So like we see before, we can do the chat inside the remote control itself. In case if you're not using the remote control, you can use a separate chat functionality over here, and you can do text chat, voice call, and video call. Since he's a manager, since Bob is my manager, I'm going to initiate a video call quickly to chat with him over a call to tell him that this is what is going to happen. So I can initiate it from here, and I can tell him that he needs to update it. Okay, so this is all about the second scenario. So in this scenario, we have seen how we can access a task manager and the services and the event log, right? Event log viewer to analyze this. And we have seen how we can use the remote command prompt, check disks, video chat, and all that. Okay. So in case if you have any queries regarding this particular scenario, feel free to type your questions in chat. Okay. Right. So here's the next option, which is enforcing IT policies on network computers. Okay, so let's take in another scenario. So to reduce the wastage of power in my organization, my department has planned to shut down the computers after business hours and also to wake up the machines before the production hours. So what are the options available to enforce this IT policies in Desktop Central? So let me show you the options in console. So first, in the tool section, we have this option called remote shutdown, using which you can schedule a remote shutdown activity. In case if you wanted to quickly do a remote shutdown or reboot, you can select the missions and you can invoke the task like shutdown or restart, hibernate, standby, or lock. If you wanted to schedule a task, to perform this on a regular basis, you can schedule a task and you can set what operation that you wanted to do, and you can enable this option. Skip the postponed or forcefully shut down. You can show the message to the end user before you shut down the machines and all that. And even you can select the target as the entire domain or to the specific user, and you can do that. In case if you wanted to exclude any specific users, something like in my manager's machine, all that, I can just exclude that user from here as well. So next I will configure the scheduler. So based on the scheduler setting, every day the machine will be shut down on that specific time. Okay, now I wanted to wake up the machines which are shut down before the business hours. So for that, I can use this option called Wake on LAN. So as you might already know, Wake on LAN is used to wake up the machines remotely when they are turned on, when they are turned off. So for that, we have few prerequisites. In the BIOS level, you need to have the Wake on LAN enabled, and also in the network adapter level, you need to have the Wake on LAN options enabled. So since you already have the desktop central agent installed, so with the help of the desktop central agent, we will be able to help you in enabling the Wake on LAN settings in the network adapter settings. But you may have to manually enable the option in the BIOS. And also in the network level, you need to enable the IP broadcast in your router. And also one computer with desktop central agent for every subnet should be alive to wake up the rest of the machines in that subnet. So once this is all done, right, if the machines are turned off, I will see the status as red. So I can select the machines which I need to wake up, and I can wake up that if I want to do a selective wake up. In case, if I want to schedule this task, I can again use this option to schedule a task, right? I can customize the port, I can customize the wait time, and I can select the target missions. And even I can schedule a time for that. So daily on a specific time, this missions will be waked up. So this is how I will enforce the IT policy that I need to enforce in my organization. Okay. So we have seen what are all the options available here. And also um, here we have the option to export the power management report as well. So in Desktop Central, we have various reports, right? In the previous inventory module, we discussed about the various reports available. So one among that is the power management report, which will tell you about the total uptime and the downtime of the computer. In case if you wanted to produce any report for an audit purpose, you can easily utilize this report. You can export this report in PDF, CSV, or XLS format. You can also set certain conditions or filters to filter any specific data based on your requirement. So that is all about the third scenario. Okay, next we'll move on to the last real-time example, which is notifying users about the Microsoft Exchange servers down. Okay, let's assume that in my organization, Microsoft Exchange server gone down now. In this case, all users will start contacting the help desk technicians, and which will flood the call support. So to avoid these kind of scenarios, I wanted to inform the users prior that we are already working on this particular issue and it will be fixed in a particular time. So I wanted to use Desktop Central to notify the users about this condition. So how do I use that? So in Desktop Central, we have an option called announcement. So in this announcement, you can create an announcement to publish any messages to the end users. So for example, I'm modifying the already created announcement, which is regarding the same Microsoft Exchange outage issue. So I'll be customizing the message over here, and I'll set the conditions, and I will select the target missions. So since this is a user-based task, you can only select the users, right? So you can select the remote office and you can publish this task to the users in the remote office, or you can select the domain and you can publish it to all the users in the domain, or even you can use a user-based custom group. Okay, custom group is another important option that we need to discuss. So custom group in AD, normally you'll be managing a lot of different groups like user-based group, computer-based group, and other groups as well. So without having a dependency of AD, right? So we locally have an option to create groups, which is called custom groups. So this custom group is available only for Desktop Central. So in this Desktop Central, you can create any type of custom group. So there are different types of custom group. You can select the category, static, unique, or dynamic, in which you can set the conditions and you can add the missions. Or the static or static unique, you can add the computers manually to this list. Even you can choose a user-based custom group and you can add the users from the domain and create a user-based custom group. So if you have a user-based custom group, you can define the task to that specific user-based custom group as well. Even if you wanted to specifically send this to us one or more user, you can type the username and you can publish it. So by this way, you can publish the important alerts to the end users. So the end users will see this pop-up message on the missions, which will show the information that is being published by the administrator. So this will be useful for the end users, so they will know that their administrator is already working on it. Okay, so that's it about the real-time example. So hope this was informative. In case if you have any questions on the scenarios or real-time examples that we discussed, feel free to type the questions in chat. Okay, so now let's move on to the next section where we'll discuss about few other interesting scenarios and solutions that we came across in our support experience. First, how do I measure the time spent by the technicians who are handling the tickets related to desktops? Okay, it's very simple. So here in this tool section, like we discussed before, in the remote control view, you have the history section. So this will give you the technician name, the start time, end time, and the total duration, and also it will help you download the recorded videos. You can export this for an audit purpose. So that will be a straightforward option for you. Okay, scenario number 2. We would like to monitor the activities of the students in our school without their knowledge. Is this possible? Yes, of course, this is possible. So in the settings of the remote control, you have this option called notify end users about remote connection. Like we discussed before, if we enable this option, the end user will see a small notification icon which will show who's actually controlling his computer. So if you wanted to silently monitor the computer of the end user, you first need to disable this. Also, you need to you need to enable the view only mode, and also you need to disable the keyboard access of the keyboard and mouse. So by this options, you can easily monitor the end user's computer without having a full control. Okay, scenario number 3. We are a healthcare company that needs to be compliant with certain regulations such as HIPAA. Of course, trust we already discussed about this. So user confirmation is going to be a very big requirement in terms of HIPAA. So we do have an option to enforce that as well as a global setting. So even all the technicians, whoever logs into his end user's computer will have this message automatically sent to the user, and the end user will allow the permission to take control. So these can be set predefined. Okay, scenario number 4. Installing and configuring IIS on a remote machine is complex. I want to document the process and use it as training material for our newcomers. Is this possible? Of course, this is possible. So, like we discussed before, in case if you are doing the first time installation and configuration of IIS, you can just enable the remote screen recording prior, and you take a remote control and you will do the required steps. and the recorded video can be downloaded from the history, and you can use this as a training material for the other newcomers. So this is also a very helpful tool. And scenario number 5, I find my remote sessions are slow when I'm in a different country and roaming users. How do I fix this? Of course, this is a very important scenario. So when we discussed about the architecture, we discussed about managing the roaming users through Desktop Central. So when the machines are in a public network where the bandwidth is very less, you might experience these kind of issues. So to avoid these kind of issues, you can customize the performance level of the remote control by using this performance option in the remote control. In the remote control tab, you can go to the performance tab. So in this, you can customize the compression quality and the color quality for each remote officer. So this is based on the remote office. Obviously, you'll be grouping the roaming users into a separate remote office like roaming users, which I have done. I have 2 roaming users group. So I'll be changing the option as low for these roaming users alone, so that the bandwidth will not be utilized more in this case. So by this option, I can avoid these kind of issues. Okay, scenario number 6. One of the users suspects an unauthorized remote access to his machine and he has raised it to the IT manager. Is there a way to audit the remote connections to his machines? Of course, yes. So you have an option called Action Log Viewer under the Admin. So under the Admin tab, you have this option called Action Log Viewer. So from this view, you can set the options. For example, I can set remote control and I can filter the details. So this will tell you which user has initiated the session and the viewer IP and all that. You can choose the required columns from this, so which will tell you who has initiated that and the time duration taken and what computer has been involved in the session and all that. So this is a computer name involved and this is the time taken by this user Jonathan and Peter and all that. So this is going to be a helpful tool for you in audit process. Okay, yeah, that's it about scenarios. And in case if you have any more scenarios, you can type your questions or scenarios in the chat and we'll discuss on that. And so now we'll move on to the questions section. We'll discuss about the common questions asked during the session. So first, I'm running Desktop Central app on my mobile. Can I initiate the remote control via app? Of course, yes. So Desktop Central also provide some mobile app functionality. So from this mobile app, you can initiate a remote control. So first, you'll be downloading this mobile app into your smartphone and you'll be configuring the server settings. So once this is done, you'll be logging into the mobile app and you will search for the computer like we did on the computer. So you will search for the computer, you will enter the region and you'll click on connect as shown on the diagram. And so now it will show me the gestures that I can do on this. So tap, press and drag, pinch out. So all these options are available when it comes to mobile devices. So from this, I can troubleshoot with all the features available here. Okay, right. Question number 2, does the screen recording needs to be turned on before you establish the remote control session or can it be turned on during the session? So yeah, the screen recording session has to be enabled before you initiate the remote control. So you cannot turn on that during the remote session. All right, question number 3, to allow multiple texts to work on the same remote machine that requires additional license from ManageEngine. Yeah, so this is not specific to the remote control feature actually, but if you wanted to create multiple users, you need to have multiple licenses like we discussed before, that there is no additional license needed for the remote control by multiple technicians. Question number 4, will the remote control automatically reconnect session? Of course, we discussed about the reboot option inside the remote control. So that is actually a reboot and reconnect section. So after the reboot, the remote session will automatically reconnect to the existing user. Right. So question number 5, my remote control screen shows port 8443 is blocked. How do I resolve this? Okay, yeah, this is one common scenario that we face in our support. So this will happen if there is if this particular port 8443 is already occupied by some other application in your server or in your network. So in that case, I can go to the tools section. On the right hand side, I have this option port settings. From here, I can customize the port that I wanted to use. In case if the 8443 is already occupied, I can change it to a different port and I can use that for a remote control. So this is customizable. Okay, question number 6. Is it possible to remote control of a roaming user? Yes, of course. You can definitely take remote access of the roaming user. The only check that you need to do is whether the machine status is live or not. When the machines are in internet, if they are communicating to the server through public FQDN, you can directly take control of that. So that's it. And if you have disabled keyboard mouse, does it automatically disable it for the new tech sharing the session? Not really. If you're disabling the keyboard and mouse for the end user, and it will not disable that for the new technician. And of course, the new technician will only have the view only mode in the first stage. He can go to the active mode by requesting for the same, like we see before. Okay, so that's it about today's training. Hope this training was informative and hope you all enjoy the training as well. So if you guys like the training, please do rate us on the scale of 1 to 5, whereas 5 is the best. And you can also share your feedback in your social media using this taglines. Also, here's the next training schedule, which is on configurations and hidden tricks. Please do register for the same, and this will be very useful. In case if you're interested in this application and if you wanted to have an one-to-one personalized demo, feel free to request the demo through the below link, desktopcentral.com request-demo, or you can let the technicians in the chat know that you're interested in this. We will help you schedule the demo for you. Also, we're happy to inform that we are organizing an EMS world tour on different regions. In case if you're interested, please do register for the same and you can get benefit out of it. So this will be useful for you to understand various endpoint management solution applications that we have. Okay, so that's it for now. And I thank once again for your presence and your active participation. And thank you all once again.